Hey there, this is Felix from Goldammer Vintage Watches. In today's video you will gain a lot of knowledge and know-how about vintage Omega Seamasters. The first thing that comes to mind if you think on the Seamaster collection is probably diving and water sports. But there is much more. Its history dates back to 1948 when it's debuted in celebration of Omega's 100th anniversary. The model was an immediate hit and became the brand's bestseller. It's Omega's longest running product line and has more to offer than just one style. In fact, it's the most varied line of the company. In its more than 70-year history, this icon developed from classic dress watches, as you can see it on our today's piece, to robust divers made of solid steel. In today's video, we will clarify why Omega took this route. Our today's piece with the reference 2757SC is a fascinating and rare Seamaster example made by Omega in 1954. As you can clearly see, this style features a strong patina. If you're also interested in this topic, we will link you a full vintage watch patina guide at the end of this video. To understand how and why the classic Seamaster developed into the look we know today, we have to jump back a few decades. Prior to the release of the Seamaster in 1948, Omega had already established a reputation as a respected producer of marine watches. In fact, the first Omega Marine with the reference 679 was released in 1932 and claimed the title for the first ever diving watch, as it was the first watch specifically tested and qualified for diving. But it's definitely worth noting that efforts to make waterproof watches began in the late 19th century when patents for waterproof designs were filled by the likes of Alcide Roéfil, François Borgel and especially Hans Wilsdorf. But it was Omega who first purposely dive tested their timepieces. Back then, most watches weren't water resistant yet and were extremely susceptible to water damage even from daily activities like hand washing. The first Seamaster with the reference CK2518 was created to address this need. What made the Seamaster revolutionary for the time was its use of a rubber O-ring gasket for its water resistance. The technology was the same used in submarines at the time and remains in use even today. Omega was so proud of its waterproof technology that a Seamaster was attached to the outside of a Douglas DC-6 aircraft in 1956 on the polar route over the North Atlantic. The Seamaster was basically designed for town, sea and country. It's a versatile timepiece that was elegant and dignified, but just as sporty and functional. The design was a signal from Omega that it believed in practical, functional aesthetics. As intended by the company, the watch was tough enough to wear it on a stormy day on the ocean or when hiking in the mountains. But its thoughtful design also made it look more than comfortable under the cuff of a crisp shirt. Our today's piece comes in 35mm in a 3-body 18K yellow gold case with a snap-on case back. The first Seamasters comes in two editions, center seconds and small seconds on the bottom of the dial. It was crafted from stainless steel, designed with short, sturdy lugs and given a slim profile to encourage its use as an everyday watch. This original iteration didn't look much like the modern, recognizable version on sale today. In fact, it looked nothing like a diver's watch. However, recreational scuba diving increased incredible popularity throughout the 1950s, and so Omega had to dig a little deeper in order to meet its customers' underwater needs. That development came 9 years later in 1957 when the Seamaster 300 was released. The first Seamaster 300 with the reference CK2913 ushered it in the age of the modern diving watch of Omega. It featured a rotating ring but also with a double crown seal and a glass that was 3 times thick as a normal glass. This piece withstood a pressure that far exceeded the testable maximum pressure of 20 bar at the time. That means 200 plus meters. The next evolutionary step was the launch of the Seamaster 120 in 1966. It was Omega's first diver's watch with a date display. Just a year later, the Seamaster 300 with the caliber 565 also got a date. Also in 1966, the Seamaster Cosmic was born. It's a model with a so-called unicorn case, which ensures increased water resistance. To do this, the designers hermetically sealed the movement. These models were equipped with tear-off crowns that could be removed with a strong pull. Finally, in 1969, the Seamaster Bullhead released. It was a wild 42 chronograph featuring a hand-wound caliber 930 movement. The watch obtained its nickname due to the placement of the crown at 12 o'clock and a pusher on either side. The evolution of the Seamaster is a testament to the human spirit that pushes us higher, faster, and most importantly deeper. As most of you know, there have been a huge number of further developments in this model series since 1969, but we would like to make a cut here and stick with the vintage models. The Seamaster collection has been, and indeed continues to be, an integral part of the Omega brand. Consisting of coaxial chronographs, day dates and annual calendars, the collection boasts its reverted and respectable range of timepieces. But the history of the Seamaster would not be complete without mentioning the connection with this guy here. The Seamaster was the natural timepiece for the character of James Bond. The relationship between Omega and the Bond franchise began in 1959 when Pierce Brosnan was wearing a quartz movement Seamaster 300M diver in GoldenEye. So that's all for today. We hope you learned something new and we would be happy to see you in our next video.